Alright, so I dropped the 4, I carry the 2. What was that order of operations thing? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Jeez, I can't believe they're asking me to do this now. Is there a file? I don't know where that spreadsheet is. Where is that file? Oh, hey, and welcome to my office. I'm Mr. Billings, the new building principal, and they just asked me to do the budget, and I'll be honest, I took one school finance class. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in over my head. This thing's causing me to pull my hair out. You know what? I just need help. I'm a new principal. Hi, and welcome to my office. It's me, Marcus Billings again. Kind of new building principal. When you last saw me, I was pulling my hair out. I had no idea what to do. They just threw the budget task on my desk, and I was at a loss. But here I am today. I have the budget completed and in my hand, and I feel at ease. And what a great learning experience. First thing I had to do in creating a budget is identify the stakeholders. Now we have two types of stakeholders. We have internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. All of these stakeholders have a say in what does and does not happen in school. They have wants and needs, and it's important to know who they are and what their needs are. Let me first begin with internal stakeholders. Our first internal stakeholder are obviously, wrong one. Our first internal stakeholders are obviously teachers. Teachers are our biggest group, and they have a lot of wants, they have a lot of needs, and they influence education in a big way. We have aides, para-teachers, and assistants who also have wants and needs and desires. Our custodial staff, and here at our building we have two types of custodial staff. We have employed by the district daytime custodians, and we have our evening contracted out custodial staff. Our guidance and special services. Special services include physical therapy, occupational therapy, psychologists. Although a separate budget, these are stakeholders. It's our cafeteria and our cafeteria employees. And then lastly, but not leastly, our central administration. Our external stakeholders are very clearly parents. Parents have a big interest in what's going on in this building. Related, but different, is our PTO, although made up of parents and teachers. Unlike parents, they have different sets of wants and needs. They also add to funding and fundraisers. Our local businesses. Although at this grade level, we do not have any official sports. We do have clubs and sports going on in the building. Our external therapeutic and counseling services. Law enforcement. Federal, state, and local governments. And a big one are our taxpayers. Those were our internal and our second segment. In our first segment, we talked about stakeholders. In our second segment, we're going to talk about learning about the budget. This was a big process for me. Again, I had taken one school finance class and got thrown into being a building principal, and here I am. So the first thing I did to learn about the budget was I consulted with our secretary. Our secretary has been here for quite some time, and she has seen the torch of principalship being passed 3 different times. So in the course of her career, she has seen people come and go, and times change. She has a good historical context as to what goes on budgetarily in the building, and she has her ears on the rail with wants and needs of building staff. So I consulted with her and got that good historical context. Second thing I did was I reviewed the previous year's budgets. I took a real close look at the past 3 years, and I did dig down into the past 5 years. Once again, this gave me a historical context. It gave me trends and allowed me to do a little bit of forecasting and see what's going on with the budgets. And I'll be honest with you, it also made me feel a lot better. Just to see how it's done, it gave me a baseline of what our past and current budget is, and it allowed me to think about going forward with this year's upcoming budget and into the future. I went ahead and I consulted with my predecessor. I called up the building principal that used to be here, whose shoes I filled. Big shoes indeed. And I picked their ear about budgets. And once again, this gave me a historical context. It gave me trends. But unlike previewing past year budgets, it gave me the whys. Why decisions were made, why spending was done here. Also, my predecessor gave me insight to different personalities and different things that I can anticipate coming up. A fourth thing I did was I consulted with other building administrators. They're going to help me with not only knowing what's going on historically, what's going on now, but they have a better lens to see what's going on in the future and probably can add something to my forecasting bucket. One thing I try to do, again, getting from past and present and to move on to the future, is I did a Google Form survey that I sent out to all the building level staff. It gave me a real pulse as to what's going on in the building now, what the wants and needs are now, and it also let me know what the wants and needs may be in the future. So that gave me a real nice view as to what the wants and needs of this specific building are compared to talking to other building level principals. And lastly, I had to really define my vision. My vision is my lodestone. It helps me navigate these turbulent waters of budget creation, of principling, and it's going to be the center of every decision I make. Hi, and welcome to our third segment, segment number 3. And in here, I'm going to talk about monitoring the budget. So, again, talk about the stakeholders, discuss learning how to budget and budget creation. Now that the budget's kind of created, how am I going to monitor it? Well, in talking to other principals, secretary and past principals, I've decided to create and maintain a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet will be maintained by my secretary and myself. It will track a record of funding and a record of expenditures. This will all be coded so that all the funding and expenditures go under different categories. This not only tracks my spending, but it also identifies patterns. And monitoring the budget is going to keep me honest and everyone honest and make sure we don't overspend or underspend. Hi, and welcome to the fourth and final segment of Help. I'm a new principal as I created this budget. Well, I went through the steps of identifying the stakeholders, learned about the budget, I've monitored the budget, and here I have the budget in hand. And what the budget revealed was that much of the spending, much of the budgeting is already dictated. That money's already vouched for, and there's not much I can do about it. But it's the leftover, the unaccounted for money that gives me the power to really impact learning. After all, I became a building level principal to have a macro impact on learning beyond my classroom. And so with this extra money, I'm going to use my vision and what I've learned from building surveys and speaking with other principals and leadership, and I'm going to use that to drive my decisions in spending. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus that money on interventions. Interventions are something that has been told to me that we did in the past prior to 2010, and the 2010 budget came, toppled that over. There was a lot of power in interventions, a lot of great student learning. And so we're going to re-implement interventions. Those interventions are going to capture those learners and their weaknesses and really scaffold them. It's going to take our high-level learners and push them. So I'm going to take that leftover money and invest it in various interventions that can be implemented in our building. Secondly, I'm going to go to that special request meeting with all the other building level principals and upper administration. and I'm going to campaign to have a new position open for an interventionist in this building. The interventionist will establish, run, and monitor all the interventions in the building. To sweeten the deal, if my counterparts are not seeing this as a need that they would agree to sweeten the deal, I'll offer to share this interventionist with our sister building, having that interventionist in our building in the morning and their building in the afternoon, making sure that interventions are happening, and this is where my impact on learning really begins. Thanks to Smart Budget. I got the budget under the wraps. That year's over, and now to start on another.